Whoa, where the wall at now? We got Mark Perry in the house to tell us where is the way of the wall, to give his thoughts, his big war chief ideas. So welcome, Mark Perry, as we move forward into the new data slate, post Eldar existence. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Nice. What would you say? Very energetic. Wow, I'm ready to do the jump. But I may roll one. You never know.
Don't blow your head up. Don't blow me up either. I'm
Don't
right
blow
here.
me up. No, I'm going to drop on my tractor as I'm at the end of the day of work and roll my ankles. What's going to happen?
Oh, my God.
Oh, no, man. I'm happy to be here. Glad to be out here talking Orks. And it's always a joy to come onto the channel, bro.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm glad that you're here and that we get to hear some of your ideas, because as we've been talking and as people are kind of anticipating that Orks are going to be in for a rough time, those of us that are trying to be optimistic and just trying to think outside of the box, we've been looking at all the Ork detachments. We got like Steven Paprine being a weird out there with the Hunt. We got you with more DACA. We got people that are thinking we can only play Warhorde, which is to an extent very true. So it's like I just kind of want to unpack everything, let stuff just hang loose for the Ork boys. Let us all in the chat as well as a part of this. So whatever you guys got to say, we're gonna show some list ideas Mark Perry has on as well, and me give my thoughts as I can here and there. So what are you running, Mr. Mark Perry? Oh, did he lose himself? I think he's frozen. All right, is the chat frozen? What's up, chat? Let's see. We got whoa in the chat. And if you guys see if Mark Perry's frozen, let me know, because I think he is, but I still see you guys in the chat. So,
I'm back.
He's back. Whoop! There he is.
Whoopsie! I was trying to pull up the chat here to be on there where I can see, and it's like, I'm going to take you somewhere else. I'm like, no!
It's all good. Yeah. And it's funny, you guys, because if you look at Mark Perry's little caption when he's joining my stream, it says, "Help, I need a mech." He's already letting me know he's going to need a mech when we start. So, oh, my goodness. Look at that right away, the chat. Whoa, from Mark Perry. Let's go. So what I was asking you before the warp got involved is, what are your ideas of the meta, where the Orks are? I got the stats and the facts we can look at as well. But before we go into that right away, kind of where are you at? What are your thoughts? What are you hearing about around the Squigfire?
Man, I'm over here looking like there's a bunch of beakies around, and we're good at fighting beakies. Yeah. There's a lot of beakies. Like, did you put a chop to the face? It feels good. Yeah. Like, this is definitely one of the most, I feel like, as a meta that I want to play Orks in really badly, this is it. We're at the probably like last 6-8 months of the edition. This is where we're gonna be at. We can really come up with some cool ideas and just get to crumping, right? Like, and I don't feel like we're not gonna have any major changes for us. So it's not like I don't have to worry about jumping, playing this army, playing Orks, and things are gonna be set, right? Maybe we'll get some micro adjustments. We did not get the big changes across the game that we were expecting in this balance slate. And there wasn't really much of a shakeup. So, the time to really, what would you say, develop, fine-tune an idea of how to play, now is the time. And I really like this part of this phase of an edition for that purpose.
Yeah, I agree with all those statements. I feel like when we were going into the data site, I'm like, man, am I going to have to start changing what I'm playing? Nope, didn't go that way. I never really feel like the majority of beakies are a bad matchup for Orks. Some people could argue certain detachments here and there. Of course, we have Vitrix Guard floating around, which might be hard for certain Ork archetypes and such. But all in all, I think Orks have had pretty good standing into Space Marines when you look into things, based off how elite they are, how low toughness they are sometimes. So I do like those kind of matchups as well as we move forward. And so what detachment are you really looking at, or like key units and functionality, right? Are you looking for shenanigans, a skew, kind of chaff, like a bunch of different units? How are you feeling about this?
Man, I'm looking at how I can best utilize the fact that Orks are tough and the fact that T5 is a good stat right now. When I kind of look at the game, like right now, like I see every single time, like fallen into like this idea of like, we're going to kill a Marine body. That's what everyone's putting up top down there. Victor's Guard, Blood Angels are looking hot.
Yep.
All of the Chaos Marine factions, cult factions, Emperor's Children, Thousand Suns got a big boost. Death Guard and World Leaders, all super popular, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that happens a lot of those is I feel that, the humble one wound orc boy chassis is something that I'm really enjoying just building around.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like really maximizing it's the one wound stat where I'm like, dude, I'm T5. Like most of those weapons are minimum shots that kill us, but 2 damage, you're wasting them.
Mm-hmm.
Type idea. And also at the end of the day, Choppas get it done. And I'm building, always for me is like I want to figure out a way to play fixed. And I've had it for a while. Maybe this is the time where I'm like, every time it works, I'm playing engage. Like engage on all fronts. It's an easy 18-20 for me. Like I do not have problems scoring the secondary. But I had this part of me where I'll just maybe I didn't have enough of that getting me where like I was scared to take behind me lines. But then I actually started committing to it and building around it. And I'm like behind me lines, like, and I'm just beginning 16s, 18s, and 20s on it. No problem.
Goodness, I guess we're gonna have to talk about how you're doing that because I might have to learn and pick up something like that. I wouldn't say I really ever consider them unless they're obvious to take fixed. Like if it's very obvious, like a purge versus a certain army, etc. But yeah, that's interesting to say. I'm just gonna take kind of board controlled, sort of passive fixed, right?
Yep.
So,
yep. Wow. Where the rest of the orcs just do what they want to do. Do those data sheets what they want to be doing. Don't be worried about doing actions. Worry about getting in weird, awkward positions. All pressure, green tide it away. Like just the green wave.
Yeah, because when you say orcs are a good toughness at 5, some people would clap back and say, yeah, bad armor saves. A lot of stuff is stronger now. Maybe the game as a whole has moved a little push past 5. But you mean in like just the amount of body saturation, and when you're talking about people wasting damage too, the way I like to say is a ablative wound sometimes that's looked at where you can kind of just durability by wasting people's actual statistical output, right? Like if you don't pay for a pain boy, you get more stuff because you already know everybody has 2 damage. So who cares about the pain boy of that phase? You're just bringing more dudes, and that in the sense is the durability that you're talking about, not in the sense of like a mega knob durability, right? Because the newer player might say, well, I hear somewhere else that T5 sucks because it's 1 wound. Yeah, but if you bring enough of it, you end up making a break point where a certain amount of the enemy's small arms doesn't function, and a certain amount of their elite, very effective weapons don't function either because you're only killing a couple boys with whatever laser cannons and missile racks and such.
It's very much on that line of like, there's a lot of scenarios where, it doesn't protect you enough, but there's more scenarios where it does protect you than it doesn't protect you. Because you look at all the Marine chaff units, or I say Marine chaff, like Marines don't really have chaff in the regard to the same way everyone else.
Like an incursor.
Incursors. Intercessors. All these units are base T4 or strength 4. When you start putting things on 5 and you have to worry about doing it en masse, things really start to add up. And you have to make those things. You have to develop that board state where that T5 is relevant, right? Not by just saying I'm going to fight here and there. I'm going to fight everywhere, right? Like we're playing engage. We're engaging every single one of your units and saying this T5 matters, right? And where it doesn't matter, that's fine. We got enough bodies, to kind of saturate it down. And I guess, the list that if you've been keeping up the Discord, posting up there, talking about some ideas. I've kind of past couple of weeks, I developed an orc theory for DACA, and what you see right now as in front of you is the final variation of it. This is the most up to the highest technology I had. This is a fine-tuned list. I'm super happy with the results and how it's playing, and it started off nothing similar to here, but nothing to this level of elements that were not normal, right? Like originally you're playing more DACA. I started with tank busters. I had flash kits in there.
Yeah.
I had, characters for Gaz. Like, I decided I just didn't need Gaz with an extra character in his units. And then, why did I choose more DACA? Well, Warhorde has all the fight stratagems. but it only does fight phase stuff. Sometimes you run the matchups where like the phase stuff is just doesn't matter. Now, I always like to have that combined arms way of dealing with situations I run into.
Yeah.
And that comes from playing at, I would say, definitely like always trying to push how to be better as a player, how to beat top players, how to become a better player is every little minute detail that you can gain an advantage on when it comes to war gear, what your unit is capable of. Maximize every single attack, every single random rule, and layer it all on top, right? Gain a bunch of micro advantages in regards of war gear choices, unit selection, etc. Therefore, your opponent never feels like they're in a bad spot because they have overwhelming power. This list doesn't look like it has a lot of power, but it does, and that's the idea of I have. If you just run up the army and thinking that it can't hurt you, it has 250-ish shots once you start triggering in rapid fires and flipping all the small arms across the army. Okay, when you're in the wall, that sustains on most of all this stuff. That's covering all bike, shooter boys, sluggas, everything, and then it has all the rockets spread across those things. And we're all orc players. Rockets we've watched do nothing to rockets sometimes just end the world. Right. We've all had probably a moment where free rocket shots went through, killed like 3 Terminators, or dropped like a rhino. Yeah. Right. So you have lots of these kind of little roulette cannons. But the biggest thing that I found to me is comparing this build could just work in Warhorde. There was really 2 things: was the quality of life of our data sheets. Sustained hits and melee is amazing, but it doesn't. It's all straight melee. Sometimes it could just be beaten by a tape measure, and you being told that you need to roll a 6 on the advance, otherwise you're just not getting there. Yeah. So instead, I've decided to take more DACA because the quality of life of having assault on all your guns is really good. Like in the wall turn, the army just feels like it's Emperor's Children wearing green. Because everything's advancing and shooting, right? We have triple Storm Boys, triple Bikes, all the commandos up in that forward position. Like you are getting a lot of mileage out of all these units quickly. And they're just doing stuff. Like there's no really safe position. Then, like that was the assault was a big thing. And the other thing was really the strategy for me. The time of developing this idea the shoot back strategy was really good on like Gaz's unit against like Eldar stuff. Because most Eldar units couldn't shoot 20 boys in Gaz and like a paintball or something like that and kill the unit and not get shot back at and killed before they jumped in the boat. That's no longer the case. Meta's drastically changed since then. But that's one of the things that brought to me. And I haven't used that stratagem against elves per se at the moment. I've had 2 cases where I can use against Drakari players. They got to do it, and I'm like, "You sure?" I'm just gonna shoot you back. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, do you mind if I take my?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine." But random witch pistols can't shoot you.
Yeah.
Then what else was? The 2 stratagems for ignore cover and extra AP sometimes come up being big. Like they could be at crucial end game moments where you pop both of those CP on the random unit and it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
But really, the big strats for me, the reroll wounds is huge because orcs don't have a lot of reroll wounds access, if any at all. In the armies, like twin linked is very rare in our army. And a lot of times, if we're getting the extra damage because you're going for, we're relying on sustained lethals or crit vibes, a combination of both. So the reroll wounds helps Gaz out when you're running on 2s, and sometimes you just roll free 1s, and that feels really bad. Like it feels really bad when you just run that one moment. Whew. But the biggest main thing is putting a unit in the wall. At the end of the day, we're an orc. And being in the wall is crazy. And this attachment has that utility stratagem that literally is like, I'm popping the stratagem 3 or 4 times in a game. That's how good it is, right? And when you put it on Gaz's unit and you have them buried in this 20-man squad, and this 20-man squad is then buried in everything else, Makari is giving on that lethal aura. All these units benefiting from lethal is a great thing to have.
Yeah.
Because you start really hammering out bigger, tougher targets. Right? Beast Saga boys with lethal hits as an aura, targeting a vehicle, reroll hits and wounds. They'll start shredding. They'll start taking half of wounds off of a knight. Off of lethals, rerolling hits, rerolling wounds. So there's a lot of quality of life stuff where I'm really maximizing Ghaz's potential in the unit. And using these Markari more for just that one turn. Because sometimes Ghaz gets precisioned out. I haven't had it happen yet because this list I bury him really well. Like my past 2 games at the RTT against Drakari and against Space Marines. Space Marines, he didn't get in combat until later in that game, as it was ending pretty quickly. They only got 1 or 2 combats in, didn't go against any major units. But the rest of the pressure units, he fell up and he was an extra weight to end the games. But against the Drakari, he never got in combat once. He sat there and was in the middle of the horde just pushing, shooting stuff with the shooter boys that he's half and half in there. And saying, I got almost, 40 to 60 shots. You can't get too close, otherwise I'm going to overwatch you. And against the Drakari, those small, fin bodies do not handle getting shot in the face by shooters. And they couldn't randomly shoot them back with the small shooting shots because of the shoot back stratagem. So those are really cool little elements of utilizing Ghaz more than what other detachments utilize Ghaz for, right? I'm leveraging, he has decent shooting. It's practically 5 big shooters, it feels like at times, at to free. Then taking advantage of Makari constantly giving the aura lethal hits, right? The army just doing that. So, delivering Ghaz as brick. How do you make sure that, how do I get Ghaz in a proactive, powerful position when I'm not a Warhorde where I got flipping, here we go, I got +2 inch movement, from +2 inch movement, follow me lads, all this stuff, is you need to create a situation where Ghaz and his boys are protected. Not by positional, by a terrain feature or a you could say I'm trying to sit there and say a lane protection, right? He just can't be shot back as a building, terrain. He is protected by one big thing, and that's situations. He is beginning of the game not the biggest threat, right? The fact that you can get jailed by Freddy commandos, free Storm Boy units, free bike units. We can lock you up, keep opponents from either getting lanes and lights it to them, or you just can't afford to shoot Ghaz's unit because then the rest of the Orks are just going to overwhelm you. So kind of again leveraging that T5, making that T5 army wide being really much of an issue when I'm tagging everything and body blocking everything I can, right? And again, all this game plan goes with the idea of fixed engage and behind me lanes. And so, first originally the Storm Boys and the bikes were not in there. It's just the commandos that dealt with that. But sometimes I felt like I didn't want the Storm Boys, if they just, went second, I'll take on the chin, but I didn't have a lot of units. I had to be more conservative with my Storm Boys or my commandos originally, because I always want to make sure that Storm Boy or commandos are in a position where the rest of my army, you jump my commandos, I'm going to jump you. So, boys, turn 1 if the commandos are a little too far forward, to add more of that pressure, can't really support commandos. But who can? Storm Boys and war bikers, right? These are, our fastest, cheap units that do Ork things, right? And a big thing was I didn't want to have to commit the WAAAGH turn 1. I felt when I was first playing the early versions of my build in the Fury, Zogrod jailing people, amazing. Yeah. I've been preaching this since the beginning of the edition. Yeah. Unit's my favorite unit in the game. Well, I hate sometimes spinning the wall on him turn 1. Yeah. This list doesn't have to do that because I have Storm Boys, Bikers, and Commandos. That unit, those units alone, that's 12 units. That units alone could just jail your opponent, right? They do not need the WAAAGH for those units to be functional. Storm Boys do not need the WAAAGH to advance and charge. Bikes move 12 by themselves, so that's taking up space, that's screening out things, forcing your hands if people want to go beat up on bikes. Other units are going to support them. So I have these 12 units that can do what Ghazghkull does as one unit. I don't have to commit my wall. Thus, saving the wall, while the rest of these 12 units be a pain in your side in the early game. The boys, all the boy units, the Snagga boy units are developing in their positions. I'm going from sticky on objectives. I'm getting secure over all the objectives that I can. And I'm going to try to sticky free objectives turn 1. Or, by bottom of 1, I want to have, free boy units on free objectives. So I decided I didn't want to take originally the bigger squads because I wanted to throw multiple boy units on multiple objectives. The reason for that is because if there's like one Snagga boy, one boy unit, you would just shoot the boy unit and not worry about the Snaggas. You'll deal with them later because then it stops the sticky. But what happens if I throw on this one objective, like here's a center, here's like no man's, but I go next to? What happens if I string out free 10-man boy squads between those two objectives and say, you got to kill all 30 of these boys to the man to not stop me from sticking these objectives, right? You need to kill 29 of these to stop the sticking, or you need to kill 20 or just 29 to stop me from scoring just one sticky. And if you want to stop both stickies, you got to kill 29. If you just want to stop, if you don't stop either one of them, it's 28. Okay. Well, again, this goes with the situation. You're not dealing with Gaz's brick. You're not dealing with the commandos. You're not dealing with the war bikers. You're not dealing with the storm boys. And all of a sudden, like, cool, we've locked you up in there. We're body blocking you with the rest of the army. We're jailing you, but also pressuring you, trading bodies up. And then turn 2, we get a call to WAAAGH. And then all these boys that ran forward on these objectives, Gaz's unit and Ghazghkull's unit is going straight forward. Adding that second wave, but now these units are more developed, where normally those positions, you would have to get those positions, you would have to sit there and take a truck, push them up there, call the WAAAGH turn 2, but then you need to buy a truck. Even if you want to do that multiple units, you got to buy more trucks. Then you just don't have the critical mass. Those trucks are all suddenly, your bikes, your storm boys, etc. So since they've bought you a situation with these faster units, you have now been able to just run your boys forward, and your opponent probably can't deal with them. And guess what? All those 12 units are fast. Getting behind your lines turn 1. That happens a lot. Yes, way more than I saw it was going to be. I thought turn 1 was going to be more of a dud. But I had 2 games where I just went second, and they're just like, well, I guess I got to run forward. I'm like, I got charges. If you just move forward to play the game, I got charges. And again, this army is pressuring so much that makes people's secondaries get really hard because they got to start leaving the no van. If I just do the Ork momentum seeing turn 1, they're not leaving their deployment zone. It's my turf, not theirs. Kind of this. Oh, sorry. Fast. Really talking fast on this one. Just ideas that I had for this concept. These are all. There's a lot of information that I took my time to develop and think about a lot. So I guess
no, you're making sense to me. I was telling chat that you're starting to convince me, and I'm actually taking notes. If people wonder what I'm doing here, it's like I'm also taking notes. I'm listening to him. Some things that you mentioned, like when you said stringing the boys across to enforce and kind of put pressure on them, that's with context of the fact that you still have all the mandos that you mentioned going forward. People definitely fail to dislodge and clear full units of mandos. Even when I run like 20, it ends up that there's a couple random stragglers running around an enemy's backfield just waiting for me to pull a secondary on them or something they can charge. So imagine 30 and the bikers. And then you're sticking them. And if they do overcommit to them, you have Gaz, you have the small arms response. You brought up the units that can overwatch, especially on these small armies. People underestimate the bikers. Like, they also fit this theme. Each biker's 5 shots. They have twin link built into them. They have a little AP built in if they're close enough. You're not playing big bricks, but big bricks would even be good as that as well if people wanted to lean into that for fun. But the concept you're bringing forward of all the chaff and not a, just a Zod is, that kind of diminishes this oath kind of thing we're dealing with when you were talking about fighting Beakies as a whole. What are you going to do? Oath one of my Mandos unit? Sure, bro. 2?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure, bro. Go ahead. Whatever. Next turn, I'm crashing into you with 60 bodies, And then I also have Gaz coming in that could probably run in there too. And sure, I might be tabled, but look at how this person just spent 3 turns just trying to get you off them so they can reach the mid table if they're even still alive. And it seems like if you're taking fixed, it seems like you're getting this consistency of having stuff left over to just exist. And that's what's really appealing to me, because I can understand where this is coming from. The saturation of not just bodies. It's not like it's big mobs of 20 boys either, because that would still be subject to oath. Still weak, that oath can still deal with that. But these split everywhere is just a little odd. And they're different defense profiles. Snaggers have a feel no pain. Mandos have the built-in 5-up invuln, and they have the stealth. The bikers have a 4-up armor and a 6-up invuln. Everything's like a weird little, I get a save here. Oops, you didn't kill me. I have more stuff. Go ahead and kill that. I got more of it. That's interesting. And it's slowly starting to make more sense, because when you showed this to me about a week ago, I think it was, on the stream, I was like, man, I don't even know what to say to that. What the heck am I looking at? But now that you're talking, I'm like, all right, dude, I'm starting to get it to a degree. And so continue, though. Don't worry. You're making sense, though. I'm just here to tell you you're making sense.
Okay. So, back on track. I'm happy that I'm making sense, because sometimes I could just start sounding like a weird boy or a mad boy.
I'm tracking and I'm taking notes. I have more notes that I took. I just don't worry. We'll sum it up. I'm taking notes to see if I'm understanding at the end. I'm listening.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, sure. Another element to this army is I've stopped wanting to run knob squads. I always like knob squads. We all know how much of a backbone they've been for our faction this whole edition. The problem is a lot of units that are really popular right now, they kind of just hit and they don't do nothing at times. Like, you hit a unit of victory cards that -1 wound, armor contempt, and fight on death. Like, a combination of all those strats is hard to deal with. So I hate having that allow you to trigger all those strats and they get real mileage out of them. But when you look at the list, you realize that there is free knobs from the commandos, free from the storm boys, free from the bikes, and then 5 built in with the slugger boys. Right? Also, that's like free to 2 to 3 knobs worth of models that you're paying for, and boy points and cheapy points, right? You're getting cheap knobs, and instead of hitting you one time with one big heavy-handed hit, I'm getting you with a lot of them, right? I've had plenty of times where, like, I string out the squads, and I'm like, dude, the knobs are just in the front with a gun. Everyone else is going to string back, and I'm just like, I charge like a unit of like a Rhino or a Talos unit, and I hit it with 5 or 6 knobs, not counting all the boys that those knobs are leading, right? And defensive stratagems aren't effective there, right? Interrupt's not going to get a knob unit off of you because you have to get through all the boys. An armor temp's not going to protect you from all those power claws because each one's coming from a separate unit. I will overwhelm you by sheer activations.
Yeah.
I
first won't defend you because you're not killing every single boy in that squad to kill my knobs. You'll kill X amount of boys from each squad if you fight first, if you split attacks, and then all my knobs will still hit you.
Right. So and if you do kill that whole squad, you killed 1 knob.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm just it's making sense. I'm like, okay, I get it. That is odd. That's a good way to think it,
Yep. It's like you have a bunch of little micro lieutenants, leading squads. Let's take advantage of that. Instead of buying these committed knob units.
Okay.
So with that all said, combined dorms on there. I've been also considering taking the big chopper on the commandos because for some reason he's the only big chop in the game that has base 4 attacks.
How did I never notice
I didn't know that until I was rereading all my rules, and I looked at the commando in the commando squad, the knob in the commando squad. He has 4 attacks, which is honestly what all the rest of the knobs in the game with big choppers should have. A big chopper should have more attacks than a power claw. They gotta be some type of game instead of just hitting on freeze.
Oh, yeah. How did I never notice that, dude? How did I not notice that? Let's see, chat. Chat, what is that? Can you see that, chat? Pull it up. Yeah, they do. I was always just thinking about how they hit on 3s, but yeah, I don't know how I messed that up on. They do get 4 base attacks with the big chopper.
Yep. It's 4 base attacks and they hit on freeze, so like they are so much more consistent than the Power Claw is.
Okay.
When you have the 4 attacks and hitting on freeze. So that's been on my radar. But regardless of that, all the knobs are spread out across the army, right? And they're buried. Then, you got the lethal aura that's affecting all these units from Akari. You also, I'm trying to sit there and say, the Shooter Boys is probably what most people ask questions about. And here's the reason why Shooter Boys are really good. Is you get a bunch of small arms fire from guys that are spread out. Orcs have a real estate problem. Anyone that's listened to me before, you've heard me say this a billion times. And I've been saying this for 5 years since what we recognize Orcs as being Orcs. Back in my time of Art of War, when I got Best in Faction Orcs, one of the big things that people ask me, like, when playing Orcs, what do you think is the most important thing? And I say, in list development, you got to make sure that you're not stepping on your Git's toes, right? A lot of times, Orcs are competing for the same space. The units are competing for the same space.
Yep.
In your deployment, and so forth. So, with that said, like, I just don't want to have to, everyone can be on the same squad. The squads can be everywhere and super tight in. So, I've tried to mitigate that. And a lot of times that's where, like, earlier years ago when doing battle wagons are great because you can fit 20 orc bodies in there. And 20 orcs is a big footprint. You're talking a range of 40 mil bases to 32 mil bases.
Yep.
And when you put them in battle wagon is actually relatively small to that footprint of those units. So you're really going to mitigate that. So that was one thing in building the list is I had to make sure that when I built it, I was practicing my deployments and making sure that things were not stepping on each other's footprints. So the Shooter Boys, they can be that mid-range to farther back, still be a boy, and put down DACA downrange, right? They're not competing in the space on the same front line that a Slugger Boy is, because the Slugger Boys are going to fight melee immediately. The Shooter Boy can be behind the Slugger Boys and still gain value, still gain advantage because they have a shooter, not a chopper, right? Because maybe that unit just couldn't get melee. Maybe those boys, because you have the rest of the Orcs ganging up on you, you have 5 knobs in combat, and all the rest of the boys are behind them. A few of those boys aren't swinging.
Yep.
And like, so with that said, like, here you go. The boys are, the Shooter Boys are gaining advantage, gaining shots, chipping wounds, and they're not getting the swing in melee because everyone else is competing for that same spot.
Yeah.
So, and they can take the wounds. That's fine. Like, I've thought about in the future, like taking all the units and just making them half and half. But I think I still am probably just going to keep them as they are because I like it, but also the stratagem effectiveness of sometimes Overwatch. Like, you have some type of chaff unit, or sometimes like a character that survives, you fall back from like 10 Shooter Boys. That is, 24, 25 shooter shots because the Slugger, if they're in rapid fire range, and then you have the rocket. So, or it should be, 25. Yeah, 25. So that's not irrelevant. That should be 4/6 hits on majority. And against Marine units, 2 wounds, you have a chance of just killing a 1 wound Marine that falls back. If it's a character, it's important. It's screening you. It's doing something nonsense. NET free bodies, that's, you're talking 3 to 4 wounds on them if they have a bad save. Killing 2 Howling Banshees in Overwatch from a Shooter Boy unit can sometimes be the deal breaker because all of a sudden that unit drops down to how many bodies they can kill. Or any units like that, right? Like, you get into in-game scenarios where those Overwatches get really tempting and you're like, this may be the right play. Maybe I have an abundance of CP. Maybe the game is so close that killing this one dude in Overwatch is literally the difference of the game.
And people don't want to shoot at you because you can shoot back at them if they diminish some of those guys for the same reason you're talking about, which is also just kind of interesting. Maybe someone would want to shoot the unit behind the one you're charging. Now they can't even really activate into that one. Do they just shoot the same one that they're going to attack? I mean, it sounds dumb, but when you're going into the same meta that you're speaking of these softer bodies of Eldar, or like Dark Eldar, or Beakies, for example, like we were talking about the Incursors, not saying that they're not going to be exposed to getting shot back, but all the small arms of your DACA you're talking about, you're whittling them away and saturating them with wounds while they're getting exposed to do what? Wound you on 5s? And you know, like you said, they can only do that once, and then you're like, all right, I got something for you because I got plenty of units. I got like 22 units. Something's gonna go make contact with that incursor. I like the biker versus incursor matchup for the bikes, right? Little stuff like that. People don't think about is sure their super kill unit might be sitting there killing stuff, but you have so much. You're making basic contact with so much stuff. You're killing the rest of their army that still has to play the game. So I like that. So yeah, sorry to interrupt that, but okay.
No, you hit it on the head right there. Like it's all that little combined taking. Again, it goes back to the original point. Gaining micro advantages in the game of 40K is something that if you can do as an orc, it will make a difference in your games. Like drastically different in your games in orcs in particular, because orcs are a lot of times their consistency and their damage output is really, really underestimated, and people disrespect it, and they'll play into it, not knowing that it could hurt you, right? Just they don't think it's real. I tell you that a shooter boy unit could hurt you in Overwatch, or I tell you that a shooter boy unit is good. Most people are going to chuckle.
Yeah.
If anyone else tells you that, they're definitely going to chuckle. I tell you that, everyone's like, you're
hey, I'm laughing. You're telling me right now, and I'm still laughing just at the idea of being like, watch out, because I do that too. I'm like, watch out. But that's essentially our shooting phase. I mean, even hitting on 5s, right? People disrespect that, but I'm hitting you a third of the time.
And then the wall, it's a extra. It's you hitting practically 50% of the time because that's sustained math.
Because the sustain, yes, I'm not. That's to me, that's what makes the difference. Because if you're playing other detachments where you need to, take advances so you can get in position, or you're waiting for the wall and you got transports, in that case, maybe not shooting is not that effective in those. But when you have sustain with all these units and they want to advance and still shoot. It's like, all right, dude, I'll take shots at that screen. No problem. Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully I make a hole so I can charge through that screen and pile into whatever's behind you, actually. So thank you. Yes, I'll do that. So it sounds awesome.
Yep. There's one game that I played with this list where I have, if you didn't notice, this is over 20 units.
I think chat said 22 because I'm playing
22. I want to say turn 1 activation turn 1 starter units are 12 with bikes, commandos, storm boys. We have 5 mando unit or 5 basic boy units. So that's 17. Sluggers make 19. Met gun is 20. Regular Grots, 21. Zagrots unit, 22, and Snickrock is 23. Yes. So. With all that said, like I can outdrop a lot of armies, and I ran in a Marine game where like you're going to commit to, we're playing on layup 2, and with that one middle ruin, there's going to be 2 with that middle ruin right here. Your opponent's army is going to be committed over on this side or this side, right? I'm going to get angles on one of those sides, so I can literally just save all the boys and all the rocket launchers for last, and some of the commando units for last. I have all the rocket launchers. And I literally just put all the rockets down this one lane. And, I turn 1, I got to go first. Oh, great. Everyone advances. And I shoot every single random rocket launcher down this one lane and picked up, like, free Blade Guard. Picked up a flipping Impulsor one time. And what was another Traff unit that I really just put down and never shot? I can't remember if it was a, Reavers or something like that. All the random shooters and rockets and gas shooting just like did all this extra damage, and that's not counting. I made in combat with free commander units at turn 1. I didn't wall that turn. I had it had Storm Boys, and it was search and destroy. So like we're just like hard up there, and I had every single kind of string of like Gaz is like a big old octopus. He's the center of everything. He's the head, and every single boy squad was a tentacle.
Because you were stringing them back to Makari's range because you were popping the Wasp strat.
Yeah, okay. And also like in that game, in a lot of melee games, you have so much boys where like people can't charge gas because they literally just can't get past the green wall. Like
even the jetpack guys.
I sat there and I looked at them. I'm like, I could try to get to the Gaz. I'm like, brother, there's 4 units literally in front of Gaz's unit. Like strung out to protect it. That what you see is that horde of boys is not his boy squad. Those are all the Tin Mans that I have stacked in front of him.
Yeah. Those are even,
I don't know how your melee army's
Those
getting
not even
hacked.
gas, bro. Those are just the dudes that are in his vicinity. That's great.
Yep.
Okay. This list just is getting more hilarious the more you talk about it, by the way. Let's see. I think is the list you shared missing 75 points, or am I missing it somewhere? Because
This list on screen should be maxed out.
it says I'm looking at it too, and someone in the chat brought it up, but I'm double checking on my phone.
Oh, I didn't put Snickrot. Snickrot's in here.
There it is. Okay. Thank you,
Snickrot's in here. That's why they had 22, not 23. Snickrot's not on here. Put Snickrot in there. He's supposed to be in there.
There we go.
Oops, that's my bad.
I got that from the Discord, so there you go. Hold on, guys. Yep. Look at this.
Yep, Snickrot, auto include boy. Mm-hmm. He is actually like somewhat the secret sauce for this list because the rest of the army does the Orks thing, and like if they do beat off the green tag from locking them out from the deployment zone, and they're like, okay, you've ran out of units. I haven't had this happen yet. Snickrot will just uppy downy and get behind me lines and engage by himself practically. Because the reason why there's a single mech gun in here and not a third unit of Grots was one, I had 10 points. Second, I wanted to bring it down just a dead So mech gun sits back there, and I either have the Grots and the mech gun on home objective. Generally, the Grots on the home objective, mech gun on the other one. Sometimes some deployments zones like search and destroy, mech guns just on my deployment zone. Nothing I can do with that. Mm-hmm. Or on my home objective, and I'm just like, cool. If you draw Cold Horde, you got to get to Ghazghkull squad and Zogrod squad. Yeah. And turn one, those squads are buried in staging or moving up in a position where they're just situationed, protected, waiting for the wall. And
this is outrageous. I'm gonna go deploy it. I'm gonna go deploy this list after when I get off the stream. This is just outrageous.
It is, but you want to practice. It is, dude. I had a couple of moments where I could practice this build. I wanted to play it, but I did not want to play on TTS. And I really wish I
did. Jaime.
Oh, dude, it's so much easier in person.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of little technical skills that you can't do on TTS. Vets without feeling extremely tedious. And when you do need to do it on mass, it's extra pain. Like Orks on TTS, I find it very hard to play on there.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I thought I was just lazy, but it might be a mixture of both.
I think it's a mixture of all of it. And you don't want to put your opponent in this awkward situation of I have to do this with all these little minute things and just not worry about it. Yeah. But back to the main point is practice your deployment. I make sure that every single unit is technically on the front line because gun knob on the front, side by side, gun knob, strong boys, bikes. I just string them out. Like I said, Gaz is an octopus head. Everyone else is a
okay. I get what you're saying. Yeah. I'm gonna have to see. We're gonna have to see pictures. I'm gonna have to figure this out and then show that it's chat. Don't worry, chat. We're developing this wild energy right now. People are wondering. I got a plan. Don't worry. I'm gonna show you guys. Or Perry is at whatever if he ends up in an event or whatever it is. But this sounds just like one of those things you got to see played. So I'm gonna have to do this.
Yep.
And try.
It is a very old style horde list in that regard. It's everyone just connects back to the main key power unit.
That's awesome. I actually like that though.
Yep.
And then you can pop this very often, because the Grots are going to get a CP your turn, and maybe they get you one. Oh, no, you can't call it, but you can still have saved from the prior turn. They changed the movement phase, guys. But yeah, either way, you can farm the CPs to always do it. It's not like you're going to waste it. We don't really have a defensive strat other than the shoot back or the overwatch.
Yep.
So there's good chances you're going to have the CP to keep popping the strat for more wall.
Yep. I prioritize the top of the list. I always wanted to be live during my turn.
Yeah.
And then also you generally also with this list, because again, you have those 12 starter units that apply pressure, occupy your opponent. Sometimes Zog gets a Zogrod. As I told you, you string out multiple boy units to touch multiple objectives. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you do that with Zogrod's unit. Yeah. And they can't do anything about it. And also you're rolling free dice on farming CP, and that's just very consistent by getting you that extra CP.
And what you're talking about too with hard to get to Gaz, well, Zod can make it hard for them to get to other units as well, because how big and fast he is. You can use him like a big wall if you go into like a World Eaters matchup or something. You want to keep some of your counter punching units alive. Zod goes up, makes contact, makes a wall. You're like, well, you're not going to get my gas now. That killer unit over there is going to stay over there. Your Demon Prince, sorry, you can't get past God, Zod, your Zerker, your Slaughterbound, your 8-bound, and whatever other armies. So that's interesting because, like you said, as it takes up space, you can even use these giant umbrellas of bodies to kind of block out enemies' counterattacks as well. And that's a defense in itself. That's so funny.
Yep. If you pull up, so I'll tell you a play that I found that was really good that I figured out middle of the game against World Eaters. Okay. So like blood surging berserkers can be a little bit of pain for everyone to deal with, right? So we have Karn and his 10 berserkers lined up like this. They charge my army. They gotta just get up there and just get some stuff done turn 1 because he realizes he's in a bad spot.
Oh my gosh.
All right, I think it was turn 2 because he went first. Yeah, it was turn 2, he went first. And after like seeing his turn 1 and then my turn 1, he's like, I'm bad. I gotta make something happen. So he decides to make it happen. That's how Karn and 10 berserkers end up like this. Okay, the blood surge is gonna be a pain. But I'm pretty sure I can hurt this unit and I can minimize blood surge and not give him all this free real estate and lose all of my charges. What happens if I can control the blood surge in such a way that I can only engage 1 unit? Okay. I realize Zagrod does this because Zagrod's probably like not that far away from this unit, up in a ruin, pushing up. And Karn is right there just beating up. They beat up some commandos.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I rolled advance. I get like a 16, a 17. I can't remember which one exactly on Zod's unit. I look at Karn's brick, wrap it from, you could say as a line, like I nearly wrap this entire scene with Zod and his Gretchen.
Yes.
Okay, there's a little hole in the side, but I make sure that even they go forward or backwards, they have to, when they blood surge, every single berserker is going to have to base. They cannot move through my models. They have to base Zod's unit.
Yeah.
Okay. And then literally behind them, I put all the orc units are right there. Because the Gretchen unit base size is 25 mils. They are less than an inch.
Yeah.
So you can fight through them. So when they do blood surge and base the Gretchen, when I charge him, every single boy squad, 1 berserker is only allowed to swing into 1 boy squad of some type because they're not base to base. They can only all either gang up on Zod, but 1 unit's connected to 1 Gretchen, and you can only put 1 attack per unit. Okay. And I sit there and I'm like, this is all how I gain this board advantage, deal with this whole brick for free, right? Now, what made this even extra easier is like I popped a 2 CP on Gaz's unit. I was in rapid fire range, and they're the closest eligible target for the extra AP.
Okay.
And I popped the ignore cover, and Gaz's unit did just drop 6 berserkers in shooting. That felt good.
Oh my gosh.
And then they blood surge, and everyone, oh my gosh, you got the base Gretchen. And then they're like, here's 5 models, 4 berserkers, what's it called? And I literally charge in and base them with 5 different knobs and squad following them. And each guy on Fight on Death could only swing into 1. Either everyone can swing in the Gretchen squad, or they have to swing into 1, boy squad, commando squad, or strong boy squad.
And you're like, it's fine. I'll take the guys from the back with the guns. Now that I make contact with you, we're good now.
Yeah. And I didn't lose a single knob to Fight on Death. This is great. Karn's out there. He's like, oh, I killed some boys. And I'm like, well, this isn't great.
Yeah. Congratulations. I got more boys.
Yep.
That's wild. You've pretty much, said it, dude. I'm going to have to give this a shot. Before I was still like, man, even when you were talking to me, I was like, what is he doing with this? But now that we've let you kind of elaborate on it, and proper brain boy chat from Jay Hune saying right now, right? So he understood what you were talking about the whole time too. Chat was popping off as well. 5 from Wall Tactic memberships from the Bad Dog. Jay Hune gave 10 Wall Tactic memberships as well. So check out the After Action Report. I'm gonna have to do an After Action Report on this because this sounds just so crazy. You have to see it in real life. But I dig it. I really do dig this. It's just like you said, the deployment and the nuances of understanding the gameplay mechanics of moving these things around. I enjoy trying to figure that out. And yeah, 22, 23 units on this list? What is it?
23 units. 23 units of Synchronot.
Goodness. Yeah, I mean, I got all the stuff. I mean, what I mean was, shit, let's go. All right. Yep. Well, it's so funny. So yeah, anything else you want to mention about the list before we talk about just orcs as a whole, maybe as we look stuff forward a little bit more before we unpack, before we get off?
I had a really good idea pop in my head, but immediately just fizzled. Processing. Really, one thing with this list is make sure don't put your commandos on objectives turn one. I recently had a game on TTS, and again, this is one of those little technical things where in real life I wouldn't have put myself in this situation. I knew not to, but like, just human instinct just kicks in. I just plop it there, and I don't register that's an objective in deployment the same regard, but I would in real life. Is sometimes your opponent does just draw Storm Hostile turn one and overwhelming force, and if you have 2 boy squads on there, that's just a free 9 points turn one that normally should not happen turn one.
Yeah, for sure. That's always painful.
Make sure your commandos are not on objectives. They're standing next to them. Second, make sure your commandos, if they are anywhere on the board, they have shooting protection from the rest of your army, can walk up and hit anything that they shoot. Like, I don't put them in buildings, but they can get based wide inside of a building. The reason why is I want my opponent goes and charges them. If they charge them, I want that unit to be out in the open. 5 intercessors comes and beats up on flipping 5 commandos. Those guys are going to stand out in the open, in the middle of nowhere, for just shooters to just rip you apart as I run at you, or I can charge you, or both, or any type of power unit, right? Like last year in January, when we had Tactical Brigade, and I won that GT during that time, I did the same thing with the 20-man, the jump squad in Tactical, where I made sure that, like, dude, if you interact with any point of this 20-man brick, turn one, if I go first, the rest of my shooting army of flipping flash kits and triple tank busters with SAGMAX, any boy that you engage, get line of sight to the rest of my army can see you, right? I punish you for beating up on my gets. It's a mob tactic, you could say. Very gangy. So
when do you normally like WAAAGH with this? I think if it seems almost like a jail, but also you have some key units that are looking to make contact a lot. Is this like a turn 2 WAAAGH, turn 3 WAAAGH? What is there? I can see it. I feel like it turn 2 so that you still have an invuln long enough, but since you have pocket WAAAGH all the time. So I mean, what does this look like?
So again, I kind of hit on it a little earlier. Is on turn 2 is ideas when I'm popping the WAAAGH. When all the boys are connecting. The boys are ideas turn 1, they're going to be protected because of commandos, storm boys, and war biker pressure. Right? If I go first, those 12 units your opponent has to deal with turn 1. And all the boys run forward. They do not need the WAAAGH. They do not need advance and charge. No. They don't need any of these biffs. So turn 2, that's when Zogrod, Gaz, and all the boys start connecting. After they've done their job of pushing forward, securing objective, sticking it, running forward. Storm boys don't need the WAAAGH, the advance and charge. They don't need it to get their pressure. Warbreakers, they go 12 inches. Some deployments, you just don't, you're so far forward at that point, and if your opponent has infiltrators, they're engaging them. If your opponent has infiltrators, your storm boys are just jumping past them. Or maybe your commandos just said, I got the first infiltrations, you're going to be put in a really bad spot. Like, if I had to put down a first infiltrator down, I'm not putting the spot where I have 2 ways. If they only have 1 infiltration unit, I will seem like I made a mistake. I didn't put down my infiltration unit first, let them drop theirs to try to out-infiltrate me. And then I'll drop all 30 commandos in the most niche position which you wouldn't think they would be at. But when there are 30 commandos there, and you weren't thinking about using your infiltration to body block me, instead you're trying to take in my really like the middle of the board, or like my objective to keep the commandos off of it. I want to go make it where your natural objective is going to be the most hard thing to get because there's 30 commandos over there. I'll save the commandos for the last drops. Look at how you deploy and find a weird little hole in no man's zone where you can't deal with 30 commandos living there.
Yeah, okay. You keep them as
Or
all 10 mans and you just use them as a pressure force because that's
no, like you just take five 5/5 mans. They do the same thing. They just got to kill them.
All 5 mans. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because like it's still Freddy Commandos. They still got all the melees, and guess what?
22 units, but is that with cutting all these units to 5s, or does that now become more? What the heck?
That's 22 units with the 5 with splitting.
Okay. Yeah,
that's splitting. Well, goodness be if I had more. I had some ideas for more, but I'm having way too much fun having Gaz in the wall all the time. So we have the 1 power brick, and that's Gaz. Everyone else is free to die.
That's the best way to play Orks, in my opinion. Just free to die. You're just gonna get returned to the Grey Wand, come back. So that's a great list. I definitely think I'm gonna have to give it a try. I'm not sure if I missed any questions from what I could take from this. As for some notes, I mean, Orks pay for the points for the DACA that you're tapping into here. We're hitting a third of the time anyways. We got sustained, so it's a fourth of the time. Not fourth. You're hitting on 4s essentially. When people do try to exchange with all this with their chaff clearing, now you have so much units that you can activate into them. You've neutralized Oath to a certain extent with this kind of list because our units aren't exactly worth it when it's just a bunch of battle line type units. The only key is Gaz, and the priority is obviously you can keep him safe, but blocking him, you can use Mandos to block him as well. Yeah, I mean, this just seems like a great. You definitely have to figure it out though with the deployment. Is there somewhere where you played this? Like Chad's asking as well in case I missed it. I mean, do you have somewhere you played this, like on a stream or something that they could examine? No,
not at the moment. I'm trying to think if there's anything. I'm trying to see if future things. I'll be at Tennessee Elite Open for the teams of it, and I think maybe we'll have a stream going on there. So maybe I'll be on there. I may be at the War Masters event in Tennessee in January, so maybe someone's there. I'll be probably playing this for like the rest of the edition. When I say I've had the most fun playing Orks, like this is probably the most fun list I've played all edition.
You hear that? Dude, he's baiting us. He wants you guys to try it. We gotta do this now. All right. Well, I'll give it a run. I'm gonna give it a go. You convinced me. You made enough sense between the notes, between what you brought up. I think I'm getting it. I think I'm totally understanding. Would you say this is a jail style? I mean, or are you really killing people completely out with this list?
If you're playing melee armies, you're killing them. If you're playing shooting armies, you're jailing them pretty hard.
Yeah.
If you're playing mid-range armies, I say it really comes down to how your opponent's going to play into it. Those combined armies, those flexor armies, those that kind of do everything. It really comes down to how your opponent plays into it. If they play into you, you can just table them. If they try to be extra respectful for them, you may not kill as much of them, but the problem is they may have just jailed themselves on accident, which is something that's very real. Like, probably all the Orc players could tell you, like, yeah, my opponent just handed me a jail. I wasn't trying to jail them, but sometimes they just gave it to me. With Gaz, like, dude, I played a game against Tyranids with Mordaka, and he killed 4 big monsters in that game. Because, like, he was just in the wall nonstop, and like they couldn't Tyranid big monsters inside of the uppy downy one detachment, the Grotmist one.
Subterranean assault.
Yeah. They can't they can't deal with 20 boys. They can't get past 20 boys to get the Gaz. If it doesn't help, I had all the rest. And this is the early version where I still had tank buses and flash kits. So I was like premium using tank buses to screen Gaz's unit to keep big monsters from getting in the melee. And Gaz just went like bonk, 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 home ejected, bonk every turn.
That's and I really like the reroll wounds thing because, like you said, rerolling 1s to wound when you're Gaz. I mean, if you're wounding everything on 2s, but you roll a bunch of 1s, that's freaking horrible. You lack sustain, so that makes up for it too. And Gaz just gets the most value about from those little bit of offensive. The wall is not cool, but the 1 strat for the wall, 1 strat for the reroll wounds. I guess that's all you need when you're using Gaz and taking advantage of the lethal aura. On top of then the little bit of shooting buffs to make it more combined arms. I mean, we're paying the points, right? GW we pay those points. It's taken into consideration from GW. You just found a way to kind of actually implement it and actually has some sort of value. So yeah, I just like this. And people always think that the reason you like spam a data sheet as an orc is because you're trying to be cheesy or something, or the unit's broken. It's not that. It's the saturation of the wound, the toughness, and the familiarity that you have with the data sheet itself. So the speed that you're playing with this. All these guys are this attack, boom, boom, boom. All these knob profiles, boom, boom, boom. As you're getting used to this, on top of the fact that all the war gear options or the abilities that they have for the redundancy. So it's a little bit of all those reasons. You can't simply just say well, Snaggas are the best or whatever, because almost nobody's using 30 Mandos, but in this case, it makes total sense in its weird, awkward, skewed way. But I love that. Like I said, I've gone last time we spoke, I've gone up to 20 Mandos. I haven't really hit the ceiling of 30 yet, but I'll give it a run after this. Trust me, I will. I'll send you pictures first, so I make sure I'm not doing it wrong first. We'll figure it out.
We'll get with it. Maybe I'll put in the chat, or in the Discord. I'll try to make a map of how I deploy the army. I operate it kind of like pseudo. Sometimes it feels like 3 separate armies, because if you didn't notice, everything's almost like a pairs or triplets, so they all get split apart. So like Gaz in the center, Zagrad's in the center, some commandos helping out there, a strongboy unit. Then each flank gets a strongboy unit. Each flank gets 1 or 2 bikers. Each flank gets 10 sluggas, 10 shooters, a snagga unit, and respectively 10 guys.
Yeah, same tool, same spots. The enemy tries to blow past it. Nope, I have this tool over here. We're going to still pull off the same plan, rinse and repeat. And it's better to have a plan as an orc player, in my opinion, if you can, that the enemy's more concerned about you than you're so concerned about everything they're doing. Right, very much as you can tell by how he's been describing this list is when people get to the table, they act like what Brandon's saying here is what the if this, right? Like with Super in this chat saying right here, like right, that's what you want from your opponent as well, to a certain degree, because you want them to reacting, gelling themselves, as you alluded to, making weird infiltrations because they think they have to take your staging spot, and you're like, I'll go get you anyways. Trust me, I'm taking your natural expansion. You're going to have to fight from turn 1 for the ground that you think that you already had claimed. So no, I love that. They think it's assured, and you're like, no, I'll just put everything here. We're not playing this necessarily back and forth tick for tack. I'm just going to control this entire portion now. Thank you. And that's better the mindset of Orc, in my opinion. Let them worry about you, and your list kind of want to reflect that to a certain degree too.
Definitely.
What happened?
Oh, no, I was saying definitely I rubbed my eye. That's all.
Yeah, and I think that's where Orcs are having a little bit of an issue where we're stalling out, where everything's around Warhorde Gaz. People kind of know exactly what you're trying to do and lining it up. It's still awesome. Don't get me wrong. I still like the Warhorde, the fighting undead, Gaz's abilities. But then again, you don't have this. The enemy's only worried about Gaz for 1 turn, kind of that 1 unit to a certain degree. That and then from there, the game's next. The other 4 turns of the game is kind of on their whims based off all their rules. In this case, you're like, nah, everything's extra because I'm still getting the WAAAGH. We're just getting stuck in the whole time. It's hilarious.
Yep.
It's just I like that mindset. I like that mindset here.
I think it's good orc. You're just fighting. Your turn 1, you're fighting. No setup. No need to worry about doing that. You run forward cleverly, cunningly, and you start smacking them. No fancy clever setups. I think that's one of the biggest things I don't enjoy playing about the Warhorde builds is you got to set up your wall. If you don't set up your wall properly in the middle of the game, I could probably say I could use Lucas Troller, like how he plays, his Warhorde list, is like cream of the crop. How you expect the standard for how Warhorde needs to be played. If that plan gets messed up because you made a mistake or your opponent knows the ins and outs of the matchup, you feel like you're behind. This list is gas. Immediately click.
Yes, it's gas. It's enforcing your will. And I'm very much enjoying that much more right now while I'm playing Orcs. If we're going to have, the worst rules than everybody, whatever, and less data sheets and be outdated, it's fine, but we're enforcing our will. You're going to have to use all these shenanigans you now unlocked to just chew through us because we're playing the meat and potatoes of the game of board control and scoring. So, yeah, I really like that. There was something else you were saying, too, and I just had to ate my words as well, my thoughts, too, that you were thinking, that you made me think about. Yeah, I like that a lot. Your list is just sick in that case. All right. And is there anything else you wanted to mention about your list that I might have missed or I feel like, I mean, you were running it. I was just following you to tracking that you were making sense. So I think you did a great job, and value making your list make sense to the most that it can. Of course, some people will say it's a Mark Perry list. You know, I don't know, only he can do it. Well, we're gonna try to figure that out. All right. That's also why we did this stream, because I'm gonna try to run it. We'll see some after action reports. You know, we got a channel that sets up for streaming that you guys can check out. Some games when I'm practicing it. So it's gonna be good time for all of us in the org community trying to figure this out, what we can do. As for, if you don't mind, we're gonna look at the how the Orks did this weekend, as you've seen, as the first results. About a 46% win rate. Call the Speed had a high win rate for the couple players were, but the majority of players were 56 players, which is what almost twice, 3 times more than the other, all the combined detachments almost. Our Warhorde sitting about 46% win rate, like you said. Only X and 4-0 start as well. I mean, what do you think about that? Or kind of just figuring the stuff out? Did all the players abandon ship? Oh, I remember the thing I brought up. Even with you brought up Lucas Troller and how he executes the list perfectly. I had him on the channel after he played and won that GT. He failed a 4-inch charge that he rerolled on the stream live. Nothing you can do about it, right? But you have that one missile, that one go turn, right? And whoop, I just failed the charge. Oh well, game 5, round 5. You know, nothing I can do about this. Your list mitigates that. That mentality you have mitigates that.
Yep. I am just sheer position. One last thing I was going to say. If you play chess and understand chess positioning boards and openings, this list is very much like that. I can't remember the exact school of thought, the ways to play the chess opening that this mirrors in that regard, but it's something very much on that lines of like, you have all your pawns up forward, you have all your starter pieces, you are getting things going, right? You have a plan for the next, 30 moves, and you're just going to do your opening. And most of the time, your opening is just going to get you through.
I'm excited to actually try this for sure. Do you think Orc players will stay with Warhorde, or do you think they will find a way to expand out to some other detachments?
I think Warhorde's just going to be it until the edition changes, probably. So, next 6-8 months. I don't think it has. It's because so many people have mastery over it, right? Yeah. It is, the most basic of solid work stuff. It has good rules. Everything about it is, handy from top to bottom. Outside the random leadership stratagem that wish could be just better, but its rules are just solid, and people have mastered. They played it all edition. It's hard to get off of that. Learning something new is a curve, and why get off of it here enjoying it? The other thing is, in certain metas too, and if you're a good Orc player with Warhorde, you could probably stop 90% of your opponents, right? Like Richard Kilton, expert like Orc player, like one of the probably best Orc players across several generations of editions. He's been playing Orcs the same way. He has his standard way to play it, and that's the same reason he doesn't have to change it, because he has his way he likes to play. Warhorde is that way to play, and I think a lot of people can just stick with that. As long as GW keeps a Warhorde S type thing, it's always going to be there. I think all the rest of the attachments are what need now to be more developed. Therefore, you can figure out how you want to play them and stick to them. Like, as I'm figuring out more DACA, look at the cat. Look at that squig.
Exactly while I was doing the stream. Sorry, guys.
I see myself sticking with more DACA because I like the quality of life of it. I like all the stratagems. As I master it more, I enjoy it more. Like, I think more DACA is, to me, what most people are becoming with Warhorde, because I really like the tool set in it. The other attachments, they have some cool tools that, we've seen successful runs. I've had successful runs with Dreadmob. But Dreadmob's not for everyone, right? Like, it's really coming down to, like, I think what the normal aesthetic is for the standard Orc player, right? What do they want to play? Most of the time it's going to be Warhorde, because that's probably the most Orc thing out of everyone on a intro level, right?
And Bully Boys, I see a lot of time people still have hope. It's really restrictive, but what do you think about for teams? Right? A lot of people kind of at least still hope for teams. I see a lot of Orc players kind of lean into teams more. Since we're not doing that great of a job anyways in singles necessarily right now. What other
So-
detachments do you like for teams, maybe?
Whatever attachments do you like? I like Bully Boys. Obviously, is very strong on teams. Flipping tactical. I really like tactical on teams. You can build some solid, good mobile shooting lists because you can always play on a certain one layout and really lean into that redeploy and flash hit domination. Right. And the fallback mechanic's awesome. It's a good flexible detachment. Then if you want to build some crazy power builds, to me, Dread Mob is the team's power build because you can build some crazy combos and a lot of stuff inside of that detachment. Let me try to think. Warhorde's always solid, but sometimes you run into teams. Sometimes you have to be careful of playing Warhorde, playing against like the super anti-melee armies. And if you have to do that multiple times, it gets exhausting. You're more likely to run into that because you're probably going to play the same type of things on teams more often than not.
Yeah.
No, I like Orks for this. This list was really built for teams, and as I played it more and developed it more, I realized I'm like, this just plays good 40K.
It plays good in general. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm gonna try this, dude. You got me. We'll see who else you get based off the chat and whoever watches this in the future. They're motivated. You guys let us know in the comments as well. You're gonna give this a try, at least the concept. I'm actually pretty pumped. And none of these units are like super hard to collect in that sense, besides like maybe enough Storm Boys or Mandos. But you know, as you figure it out on TTS, people can decide if it's worth trying. I know I'm gonna give it a nice little run, dude. So I think you nailed everything. I think you definitely got you got it all out. I think all that wall energy just was flowing from you. You were looking like a weird boy, just putting all that brain juice on us. So thanks. I appreciate that. And is there any more thoughts or words you want to give to the wall before you head out? I don't want to keep you too long.
Just remember, just believe in the wall.
Hey, honestly, that really goes for what your idea is for shooting, right? You have a certain amount of faith in your guns more than your opponents do. I mean, like you said, they laugh at you saying you wad. I started to laugh. It wasn't because I was laughing at you. It was just I understand that we're like, bro, I already kind of shoot on. I kind of already hit on sixes in my shooting phase, and in general, I'll shoot you with all these guns if I have the sustain. You know, I don't have it in Overwatch, but all these guns, if you just expose yourself, I'll take all those shots, bro. You're trying so hard to screen me and retake positioning and board control that you're leaving all this stuff exposed. I'm down. Put it there. Put it there. Right? Just start throwing dice at them, and that's why I'm excited for your list too. Yeah, and I like that you put bikers on there because I kept putting bikers on my Mordaka list too. It's just like they didn't get sustained, but everything else they appreciate for the most part.
Yeah,
you know. And
they were the last additions into the list. They were as soon as I played them in this final version, I immediately knew that they were the right decision. They were the last thing I needed because I just needed that. I needed that ninth or that 10-8-12 fast moving turn one unit to really go over the top. Yeah. And like at the end of the day, like I was like, at first I didn't want to do it because like free wounds. Like I'm a bunch of one wounders. I want to make all that multi damage stuff useless. But I'm like, dude, they go on the flanks. They're T6, and if people go after them, like they're not fighting on the front lines. They're fighting on edge flanks, and that's boys are dominating it. So the advantage there. Some people's like, I want to hit the bikes, and I'm like, go ahead. They're 65 points.
They're generally exposed if they fought your bikes. Your bikes aren't staged inside buildings, so if they countercharge them, they're exposed. They take a little bit more toughness. I like that a lot. And yeah, the bikers are a little slept on in the case of we always think about them just for scoring, but when it comes as bait or getting in little skirmishes or taking up space, commitment, right? The enemy can't shoot behind the bikers because they're shooting the bikers. They got the Mandos, the bikers, maybe the Storm Boys. They can't take the time to shoot behind them. And if they do, oops, my knob's still alive with the power claw. Come here, I'm gonna throw a grenade at you, or whatever. It just says power claw you. I like the idea of where this is going. You're giving the enemy so many options, and you're sitting there like, I might shoot back at you too. Just throw that in there, right? While they're making their choices. All right, I'm gonna take my little small arms fire, and you're like, I might just shoot at you with that Mando squad. What does he have? He has a flamer, a rocket launcher, some pistols, blah, blah, blah. Yep. Do you take the DACA guns in there?
I take all full loadouts. Yep. Dude, my combination is Burna, 4 Sluggers, 2 custom shooters, the Rocket, Breacher Ram, Knob.
There you go. And then you're like, I'm going to shoot some of your Mandos. I'm stealth. I'm 5-up invuln, and I might just shoot you back after you kill a couple of those useless guys. You might end up just not having any more of those chaff dudes. I like how that sounds. Maybe some Sisters of Battle, right? They want to shoot some stuff at you. You guys are all 1 wound. I'll take this. Your T3, your 1 wound. Sure, take a 3-up. No problem.
Get it out of here.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm pumped. So you got me. You convinced me. Maybe it's only me and you in the world, but we're gonna make it. We're gonna make DACA a comeback with more DACA, hopefully. So, any last words you want to say, Mark Perry? Thank you very much for joining us. I know you're an hour ahead of me, but thank you. It's a very exciting whenever, and I know you've given the Ork community some new brainwaves and some squig juice for them to take on for tonight.
Well, I'm happy to help out the community and give any ideas of hope and things that people want to tinker and toy with and ideas. That's all. At the end of the day, I'm just happy to help out and to show that, like, as long as you put that effort in, if you want to make something work, believe in yourself. The WAAAGH got you. Do it.
Absolutely.
And anytime I can give an opportunity to thank you for all that you do for the Ork community, also, I'm always trying to help you out. So,
oh, for sure, dude. We're all a part of the Great Wall, right? It's all about the Great Green, baby boys. So, with that being said, there's only one thing to keep in mind: is don't cross our wall, because we'll knock your teeth out. Whoa.